How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV News Daily. I'm here with Rob again. We're back to cover some news. To be honest, it was a slow news day today, Rob, until about 10-15 minutes ago.
Yeah, wow.
And wow indeed.
I just saw that Maddison
Yeah,
being heavily linked with Arsenal.
yeah. So the AFC Bell, who, released the news about Partey last summer, very credible off of the back of that news, has just spoken and said, we've been interested in Maddison for a little while. He's one of our prime targets, and they expect it to be refuted in the media over here, but he remains adamant that we are very interested in Maddison and we are in some sort of talks.
Wow, Maddison. I mean, if we were to get a player like that, it'd be absolutely a shock. I mean, how much? First of all, what would Leicester want for Maddison?
That's the.
I mean, they're not going to let Maddison go. If they do let him go, they're not going to let him go for less than, gosh,
We're talking 80, 70.
50, 60 million?
Yeah, well, I guess
Easy, isn't it?
so.
If Ben White is 50 million,
Yeah.
Maddison's got. How old is Maddison? Let me check.
He's
What's
definitely
it?
early 20s, but if you look at Grealish's price tag last summer of 80 mil, I'm sure Leicester are going to push for something around
Yeah.
that. They got Maguire, they got 80 mil from Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I see why Arsenal would be interested in him. He is the type of player we need. He's skillful. He's creative. I mean, he's 20 what? 24. So
Yeah.
he's still a great age.
Yeah.
Probably if he hadn't been injured and that, he might have been at the Euros.
I think he
But-
would have. I think he would.
Yeah, but geez, that's a big one. I mean, I'd love that to happen. I think he'd be a brilliant signing, but I just can't see it.
That's the sort of news that would make the Buendia deal make sense.
Yeah, listen, if you're getting Maddison instead of a Buendia, I mean, that's a serious upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know, just everything about that. Leicester selling Maddison
Doesn't sound right.
to Arsenal.
Doesn't sound right.
I mean,
at all.
we couldn't get Vardy, and he was about 40 odd.
Yeah, well, it's true, and that was then. Those times we were still in with a Champions League.
Yeah,
shout.
yeah. I don't know. Listen, it could be that we're trying to get him. It could be that we're in talks or whatever. But I'd see it unlikely. Would Maddison want to come to Arsenal?
That's another question.
The thing is about it, right? And I was thinking about this the other day, Turkish. Is that all right? We haven't got Champions League football. We're not the same team that we used to be. But Arsenal's still a big name. If Maddison's doing it at Arsenal, you're in the England squad. Simple.
Yeah.
For the next World Cup.
Yeah.
You're in there even before, like, say somebody's playing for Leicester. Definitely.
Yeah.
Even if Leicester are in Europa League or Champions League, it's a bigger club. It's a bigger the profile. You're just on another level.
Yeah.
Profile wise.
Yeah.
So you could see why a player like that, even though Arsenal are not in Europe, would consider or would think about that, because I go to Arsenal and I make it and I turn it around at Arsenal, my profile's going to go through the roof.
Yeah, Arsenal just
But-
waiting for that.
Yeah, but I don't know. We cough up the money because that would be a king's ransom
Yeah.
for Maddison.
And
I
after
know it.
losing that to Aston Villa and Buendia over what seems to be a couple of mil or a percentage, does it make much sense that we lost that to Villa? Now we're interested in Maddison. When I look outside in, it sounds laughable. It sounds like one of those ones that Arsenal fans are fed every summer to just keep us reeling.
I thought that when we was Pepe was suggesting.
Yeah, and Partey, to be honest.
Yeah, and Partey as well. I was like, hey, all right, yeah. And they both happened.
I thought they happened.
So, but listen, that would be a fantastic signing. That would be the sort of signing I'll be like, yeah. But I just can't see it.
Yeah.
Might be in talks. Leicester, I don't know. You don't know with these teams, do you? You don't know. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They could use that to fund a lot of other stuff. I don't know. But I see him as a key player for Leicester as well, isn't he?
So do I. I can't see a ready-made replacement there.
Yeah, because when he sort of got injured, as I said, towards the end of last season, that's when they fell apart in the league.
Yeah, they had problems.
So Wow.
Yeah, well, let us know what you guys think in the comments. I know some people are here just saying rumours and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. But like I said,
AFC
Bell, you know, they played a big part in the Thomas Partey transfer last summer.
No, he's a reliable source.
And listen, this is coming from someone who actually called out AFC Bell last summer, and other journalists saying that they, you know, have us Arsenal fans on. Literally a few hours later, Partey was confirmed, and I had to backtrack on that one in regards to AFC Bell. So as I sit here now, AFC Bell has some credibility. We'll see how much moving forward.
Well, that's a bold call. That's a bold thing to come out and say that Arsenal, you know, because you know that everybody's going to say, "Oh, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But this guy, and let's remember, right, that sometimes, you know, you could be talking to a player, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get done and that. But you could, you know, the fact that if they have approached Leicester about a player like Maddison, then that means that they're thinking about the right type of players.
Yeah. And
where are they going to get the money from?
Someone here says Kante, Mahrez, Maguire, Chilwell, all sold by Leicester. So yeah, they have sold some big names.
Yeah, that's true. Maguire sold, but then look how much money they sold Maguire for.
And that's got the English player tax as well, the homegrown.
Yeah. And Maddison's in that category as well. So what, Maguire went for 85 million?
So yeah, roughly 80, 85.
So, all right, if you take the fact that COVID and stuff like that has made prices go down a bit,
we're still talking 60.
We're talking 60 million.
Yeah, good age, plus English player, young. He's adapted to the Premier League well. Will be an instant upgrade on what we have. I know we're all happy with Emile Smith-Rowe's introduction this season, but Maddison, in my opinion, has done a lot more. Obviously, he's a bit older, so very interesting. Like I said, we was coming into this news show off the back of what was a slow news day, and all of a sudden, I guess the biggest name we've been linked to all summer has all of a sudden popped up.
No, that's massive. But I'm not too sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Let's see how that plays out. People. What are we on to next? Guendouzi. So Guendouzi's changed all his social media profiles to Arsenal-related pictures again, red and white, cannons, Arsenal shirt. All of that, people are talking about maybe he's getting a second chance. It's a bit odd for him to do that, even though his time at Berlin's up. I wouldn't call it odd.
Well, he's back, innit? So maybe that's why.
I wouldn't call it odd, but
he's back at Arsenal. He's changed it back to Arsenal.
Oh, with Xhaka and Torreira on the verge of move, we're only linked to one central midfielder at the moment. Potentially, he has got a place in this team.
I can't see him coming back, man.
One thing about Guendouzi, though, Rob. We can debate about his quality all day long, and we can debate about whether he's good, bad, and whether he'll reach his potential. But one thing that he does have that we lack is that grit, that mentality, that fight. He
just needs to always channel it in the right direction. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that it's the off-field stuff. It's the stuff that we don't see in the change rooms, or is he a team player?
Yeah.
Is he? It's not a good trait to always be falling out with managers.
Yeah, it's not.
That suggests that you're not listening to what to instructions and stuff like that. So, I do like his spirit for such a young player. I do like his spirit. You can see when he's on the pitch, he bothers him when things ain't going right. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know.
It comes to the manager as well. And is Arteta the type of Arteta's learning on the job. So to have a player like Guendouzi, and listen, it's not a direct comparison, but I look at Balotelli and I look at the way his career has gone, and I look at his time with Mancini at Man City, and I think Mancini managed to, keep him under wraps as much as possible and got something out of him. He would play a big part in winning a league title. It hasn't worked out since, but maybe maybe that something can be done with Guendouzi. I just don't think.
Yeah, listen, he's quality, but I don't know, man. He's the problems that come with him. If you're bringing those problems, you better be Cristiano Ronaldo. You know what I mean? Incidentally just scored 2 goals in that last game. But, you've got to be of that standard if you're going to bring all that problems. You're a young player, you're learning. Get your head down, and, you're a professional footballer, man. Yeah. I just don't, you know who he reminds me of? Do you remember that player, Adrian Rabiot?
Yeah.
He's at Juventus now. It's to say a similar thing with him. You know what I mean? It was like, it only looks like it's just now he's started to really get his head down and knuckle down, and now he's starting to do well. But these guys can kind of knock back their career. You see players that should be playing for better teams, playing for lesser teams, And you think, why is he there? But it's the attitude sometimes.
It is. The one thing we have now that we didn't when Guendouzi was with us, the season before last, is Thomas Partey. And I look at Thomas Partey as a leader. I think he's, been around. He's done it pretty much all at Atletico Madrid. He's been involved in some, big competitions. He could be the one that puts his arm around Guendouzi and says, listen, there's a player in you, but you need to get your mind right. It's not all about, the skills with your feet. It's sometimes about the mentality.
And you ain't done it yet.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with Guendouzi as well. You ain't done it. You're miles off doing it. You're growing as a player. Yeah. So grow. Don't, But listen, I like him. I do like him, but for some reason, I just don't think. I think he'll be gone this season as well. I just get that feeling. He's changed his socials. He's back at Arsenal, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh.
He'd be back at Arsenal this week. His loan move would have come to an end.
Maybe it's just that. Maybe it's literally just he's back at Arsenal. It's time to put the red and white back on.
I don't know. Who knows, man? Maybe.
Yeah.
Listen, if we're keeping players, you want to be keeping those young, hungry, good players. I mean, there were all the rumours that he was going to be going to Marseille.
Yeah.
And that Marseille wanted him, and it doesn't look like Marseille want to cough up the sort of money that Arsenal want for him.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like anyone wants to cough up the money for our players at the moment. Yes. Did you see that stat about since 2012?
We were talking about it last night.
Plus.
I was talking about it last night, man, and we haven't made no money on any of them.
Can you imagine?
Only 2 players, isn't it? Giroud and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Are the only players that we've bought and actually made money on.
And that was prior to 2012 we bought them. I believe it was
absolutely. That tells you everything you need to know about why we're in the mess we are in right now.
Exactly. It's all financial. And
it's
literally
ridiculous.
The way the business has been run, we haven't even, had assets to sell on. Victor here says Arsenal should get Renato Sanchez and Nuno Mendes. Well, Sanchez was someone who burst onto the scene young. Bayern Munich picked him up. It just didn't work out.
Done. I mean, he probably just watched the game. He went on a decent run, Renato Sanchez, that led to, I think, to the 3rd goal. He's strong, he's powerful, but it didn't work out for him when he was over. Who did he play for? Was it Swansea?
Yeah, it was Swansea.
Yeah.
I think it was Swansea. You're right.
Yeah, it didn't work out for him, man. And I just think that those sort of players, their time has passed now, as far as I'm concerned. As regards Arsenal going to get those players.
Yeah.
For me, that's done. It's too late.
And I see that a lot of the chat is saying, keep Guendouzi and give him another chance and whatnot. There's a few against that idea. But I think there's priorities, and I think if we can get a certain figure for Guendouzi, do it. But at the same time, do we have replacements coming in? Because if we lose Xhaka, Torreira, Guendouzi in the same window...
Well, listen, there was talk. I was doing at my transfer daily this morning of this guy, Lokonga. Who plays for Anderlecht. Had a great season for them. The rumours are Thierry Henry has recommended him to Arsenal. Still very young, 21.
Yeah.
He could maybe be coming in because he sort of plays in a similar position to where Guendouzi plays. He plays deep.
Yeah.
Sort of more of a holding midfielder. He could be that person. Just coming in.
I don't know much about him, but I've done a bit of research on him. He looks like the right profile we need in the middle. Listen, we need all types of profiles in the middle at the moment. But he looks like one that's an interesting, proposition, and we just need to start getting some
Basuma.
That's the name.
Basuma. That's the guy I want to see. I want to see, to me, he's Premier League ready.
Yeah.
He wants to come to Arsenal. Yeah. He's friendly with Pepe. He'd settle in quick.
He's at Brighton. And
he's an excellent player. And I think that if you've got him, Partey in that midfield, that is the base of a very, very good midfield. He will help to protect the back four.
Yeah.
I'd be looking to bring him in.
Yeah, because if you have them two
still
in the middle,
young,
the other team has a lot more questions to ask. A lot of teams won't want to attack through the middle if you've got Partey and Basuma there. But right now they know that attacking through the middle, there's mistakes to capitalise on. So we'll see. Pep Teta says AFC Bell just tweeted, "We are really interested and in contact with James Maddison." Rewind a bit, Pep Teta. We discussed it about 10 minutes ago. Rewind a bit and catch up with that side of it. But yeah, it's very interesting news. We're on Guendouzi now. Edison Alvarez says, Hazel, sorry. He is worth a look. He will be a great central defensive midfielder. You know much about him?
No.
Alvarez, no.
I don't know.
This is it. This is what it's like being an Arsenal fan, right? Because we're linked with everyone, it's hard to do your research on just one player or follow one player. I was so surprised with Thomas Partey and Pepe because those are two players I actually wanted, and we managed to do it.
Yeah, the thing is about it, right, is that when you start to, as I said, you start to look back and you start to think to yourself, well, look at the fact that we've made no money on players.
Yeah.
And then you start to realise why we haven't been able to bring no one in.
Very true.
Right? We haven't been able to make any good signings because if we're running that model, which is a self-sustaining model, and you've got nothing to sell, you got no money coming in. Yeah. It's nothing to sustain, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Hence why they bring out 8 shirts a season now to trying to catch up to the mistakes they've made.
You know what? People often say to me, "Well, you can't blame that mistake on the Cronkies. It's not their fault." I still do.
Of course, you have to blame
because
them.
To me, they're still in charge.
Of course.
And you've allowed that to happen. You've allowed these people to, it was a mess. A lot of fans were complaining about it at the time when Arsene Wenger was there, and they was talking about, I've been doing the Transfer Daily for years. People always moaning about transfers, always moaning about the fact that we never seem to be able to sell on players for a fee, and it was just ignored. And now we're seeing years and years and years of neglect. We're seeing it. It's only just now, recently, we've bought a few players in that if we tried to sell them, Martinellis and people like that, we'd make a profit on. But
and you know what's most frustrating, Rob? About 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, people would argue with me saying, but we're a good business. I used to talk about the football, how we've declined on the pitch, but people would say, but we're a good business, self-sustaining this and that, and we don't.
No.
But we're not a good business. Look what's happened behind the scenes.
We were only a good business because we were getting to the top 4. So we're getting into top 4, and the owners were getting a little change out of it, and that's why they neglected everything, because they were seeing a profit from getting into the top 4,
and that's what they wanted.
But now the only way to get back into the top 4, we're going to have to
fix those mistakes.
Yeah, and we're not going to fix them by being self-sustaining.
No.
Even if we sell all the players that we want to sell this summer, it's still not enough to guarantee. You can't be guaranteed a top 4 place, right? But you can't
even guarantee. You can guarantee a challenge if you do enough.
Yeah, try and challenge, right? So to challenge, you need players like Maddison, and you need players like Basuma, and that's how far back we are. We need to add those sort of quality to the team if we're going to challenge. If we don't, it's going to be like last season.
I agree. We've got a question here saying Odegaard or Maddison.
Ooh, it'd have to be for me. It'd have to be Maddison.
I think I'd lean towards Maddison too.
He's been there, done it in the Premier League. He's been brilliant.
Odegaard reminds me of. Listen, he looks like he'll be a great player, but he also reminds me of a player that suits the era of 5 to 10 years ago, where Mesut Ozil was thriving, where football was not necessarily a bit slower, but it had the number 10. Everything went through them. Now you need a lot more energy from your number 10.
I do think he's got a lot of energy though.
Odegaard.
That's what I like about Odegaard. Yeah, he's got a lot of energy. And I remember when I was chatting to a Norwegian journalist when we signed him, or when we was looking at we were going to bring him in on loan, and he said to me, he described him as being Mesut Ozil with the work. I mean, that's what he said. Yeah. Mesut Ozil, but with work, with hard work.
He's adjusted to the...
Yeah, and I sort of seen that in him, that he works his socks off in games, you know what I mean? He does need to add goals though, and that's what Maddison's got. Maddison's got goals, Maddison's got free kicks, and he's got everything else as well.
He runs in behind us. He reminds me of an improved and polished version of Emile Smith-Rowe.
Yeah.
That's what we hope Emile Smith-Rowe could grow into.
100%, I think, and he's a very, what I like about Maddison, a very confident player. Yeah. Always wants to be on the ball, Yeah. But, as I said, he sort of finished off the season pretty poorly, coming back off the back of that injury. Would Leicester be tempted to sell?
And if they are tempted to sell, would Arsenal be the team to tempt them to sell?
Yeah, and then
that's another question in itself.
Will there be other teams looking at it and saying, "Well, Maddison's available"?
Exactly.
Some of the bigger, some of the top 4 guys.
Prem proven. Yeah. Good age, going into his prime. Victor says, look at France's starting lineup and the bench. That is stacked. Which player could we get for Arsenal? Koundé, the centre back, and Coleman. I guess the winger for me, realistic. Yes.
Koundé would be about 60 million.
Yeah, that's the issue.
I don't think we need that centre back. Well, that's not the priority, but he's a good player.
Yeah.
Kingsley Coman, wicked player, but I think we've got wingers.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, he's unreal, but he'd be very, very expensive as well.
Yeah, and there's actually, on the point of wingers, might as well move on to Mana Solomon. There was reports earlier today from, on Twitter, let me just say that, we're going to make a bid, we're very interested. Chris Wheatley came out and said no contact's been made yet. Now, Manor Solomon, I've seen him a few times. He plays for Shakhtar Donetsk. I remember him scoring against Man City a couple of years ago. It was a few more years ago. He's a good player, both-footed, predominantly starts on the left.
Quick.
Yeah, quick. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, I like the look of him as a player. We were looking at him in January.
That's it,
We were very, very interested in him in January. There was talk of, Arsenal going in for him even then. Again, I just look at it and say, that's not the priority, wings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd agree.
It's like you go to Nando's, we don't need wings right now, you know what I mean?
I could do some Nando's wings right now.
With the leg and the breast. But he looks a good player. He's still very, I think he's 21, isn't he? He's still 22. Yeah. He's still very young. He looks a quality player, but I would rather see us sort out the positions that we want. The essentials need to be done first for me.
Yeah.
And that is in the heart of the midfield, the holding midfielder, attacking midfielder, right back. For me, I want us to, let's deal with those three positions first. Because even if it was only that three that we got done and we didn't have no money to do the rest, there's other players who can fill in the other areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We could make Saka play as a cover at left back. We could, we can cover. We've got centre halves there. We've got, but we need a holding midfielder like a Basuma. We need an attacking midfielder. It's a Maddison or an Odegaard, whoever that is, right? Those two essential. We need a right back. Essentials. So those are the essentials for me. I want to hear more. I want to hear more news about them areas.
I agree.
Because that's another thing that we've done over the years is we've gone out and bought players that we didn't really need.
Yeah.
We bought Pepe. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad we've got Pepe. He's an exciting player, but that wasn't an essential.
Yeah. And I remember at the time when we bought him, I was happy with it, assuming that would fix the problems we had. But instead, we went in and then bought Luiz in the last week of the window, as a centre-back option, replacing Koscielny. And then Luiz went on to cost us a few penalties and red cards that season. So it's that 3 steps forward, 5 back.
I look at Manchester City, right? And people always talk about how much money they spend. And yes, they do spend loads and loads of money. But they get the essentials, man.
Yeah.
When they bought Kyle Walker that time, I remember everybody laughing. Oh, what do we get Walker for? Walker for 50 million. Yeah, they might have paid over the odds for him, but they knew they needed a right back.
Yeah.
And they wanted a top quality right back, and they went and got him. When they bought Ruben Diaz, they knew they needed a top quality leader type centre back. Yeah. Went and got him. Right? You didn't go and get another winger.
Yeah.
So get the essentials.
And that's what lets us down.
Get the essentials. We haven't got loads and loads of money to be going and getting every other position. And in some of them other positions, we've got good players. Maybe if the base is good, that would be able to unleash those players to go and do the business.
Yeah, your midfield has to be good, That's the key part of any football match, the midfield. How often do you hear that if you win the midfield battle, you'll win the game?
Yeah, everything comes through the midfield.
Yeah. Will here says Odegaard's overrated, slows down play and plays it too safe. Well, I
don't think he plays it too safe. I really don't. I don't think he's overrated. I think he can be better.
Yeah, I don't think he's overrated, but I understand why he says plays it safe, because sometimes that slow mode of football. So I wouldn't say Odegaard's slow, but he does slow it down in a sense where he picks it up, he works at his own pace, and he distributes it. Sometimes safely, sometimes he takes that risk. Yeah. Maddison's that player that will take more risks. He'll run in behind the lines. He'll shoot. But
then you've got to remember that Odegaard was on a 6-month loan. He's coming to a brand new division. Maybe if he's there for a year, playing in the Premier League week in, week out, he won't be the same as what we've seen. He will get. I look at a player and he'd get better.
Yeah,
he'd get better. I'd be more than happy if he came back.
I would be happy as well, because I look at Odegaard's 6 months and I compare it to Pepe's first 6 months and Partey's first 6 months, and Odegaard had the best opening 6 months.
I think he's a confident young player, and I just look at it, I think you buy a player like that, you'll have him for 5 years.
Yeah.
You'll have him for the next 5 years, and he'll still only be 27.
Yeah.
So you can make a lot of money on him, and I think from what I see of him, that's a guy that he will deliver. You're going to see a guy working every week.
Did you just say Arsenal make a lot of money? Yeah, I haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a while. But yeah, those sort of transfers would, help put the shit back on track. Highsawyer says, I watch you guys pretty much every day. There is not a lot of Arsenal fans or soccer football in Wisconsin, USA.
Ooh,
but big up you and big up everyone over there. Big up AFTV, he says.
Big up Wisconsin, man. Big up.
Yeah, come on. I'd rather Smith Rowe than Odegaard. Will, I understand that debate. Very different types of 10s, but at the same time, you need both. You need, we need two.
Both. I mean, and with the injuries that we get at Arsenal and literally every other team.
Yeah.
Look at Leicester. Leicester, for the last 2 seasons, have missed out on the top 4, really because their squad ain't been good enough.
Yeah.
Their starting 11's
When push
good.
comes to shove, yeah.
When push comes to shove, they had a couple of injuries. Maddison was out, RV Barnes was missing, Justin at the back was out. Whereas, other teams like Chelsea, who've sneaked into the top 4, even though they didn't have as good a season, it's their squad.
Yeah, pulled through.
It's the ability to just one big player's missing, but they've got another player to replace him.
Yeah.
There's not the drop-off, right? So a squad is so important. So important.
It is, and Miles here says, why can't Arsenal get the best players when we offer the best deals? Play until your contract runs out and move to another club for a fortune. Well, Arsenal, listen, free contracts, transfers, negotiation, it's all been a mess. I don't think there's one definitive answer to how Arsenal got here. Well, there is one definitive answer, Stan Kroenke. But in terms of how he managed to get us here, so much
neglect.
Neglect, that's the word, neglect. So much neglect, and we are here now. Jim here asked, if you had one signing to make this summer, who would that one be?
Oh, I asked that question to somebody earlier on, and they answered Basuma, and I agree with them.
That's what Jim said.
Basuma, yeah, Basuma. That'd be my. If we can only make one, Basuma, shore up the base.
Yeah.
Right, because worst come to the worst, Smith Rowe could play in the number 10, even Saka. Worst comes to the worst, we'd have to just stick with the right backs that we've got. Right? But Basuma, I think, next to Partey, who I think will get better next season, Basuma. And he'd hit the ground running.
I'd go with him as well. It looks like he wants to come here. It looks like he'll feel at home here.
I want to hear us making a thing for him.
Yeah.
No, I love the fact that we're linked with Maddison, but I want to hear us,
just go in
on the verge of signing Basuma.
Because
I want to hear that.
It's not only about Arsenal filling us fans with hope. It's about showing the rest of the league that finally we mean business.
And your players.
And the players as well.
And your players as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're a Bamiyang on holiday and you've just had a poor season and you see that Basuma's coming in, it's like, you can man, we're stepping it up now. You know what I mean?
And then the other teams are looking and thinking, oh, Arsenal are trying to do business.
Yeah, and you're looking at the midfielders. You're like, yo, Partey and Basuma at the base, hey.
Yeah, it becomes tasty. Would you guys take Basuma, Lokonga, Partey and Calvin Phillips as a free? So he's asking Basuma or Lokonga, Partey and Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips, I think, there's a bit of a hype train with him right now. I'd like to see how he gets on this season. He does look like a good player.
He was excellent in the Championship.
Yeah, he was.
He's come up into the Premier League. He's been excellent in the Premier League. He's a very consistent, always plays well for Leeds. I'll speak to a couple of my mates that support Leeds. They sing his praises all the time, right? Yeah, like he's their main guy. I like him.
Yeah, people do.
But again,
I know Leeds fans as well, and they mention him a lot.
He'd be a lot of money to get. Lokonga, I don't know a lot about. All I know is that he's coming very highly rated. But for me, looking at him, would he come in and hit the ground running? We need a player in that position, especially if you move Xhaka on. And whatever you think about Xhaka, and I know he's not your favourite player, but he's a very experienced player.
Yeah.
Can you bring in a 21-year-old in Lokonga to say, yeah, right, you go and fill that?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think if
the pressure's a bit.
But somebody like Basuma now, you could bring him and say, right, that's your position. You can't underestimate the fact that when you've played in the Premier League, you know every player.
Yeah.
You've been to every ground.
Yeah.
These little nuances, when you first come into the Premier League, so like Odegaard he doesn't know every player, he doesn't know every ground. But these guys are used to, so Basuma might be like, that player I'm coming up against on Saturday, I know. I remember a couple of seasons ago, man, he kept taking me down the left-hand side. So I know, You know what I mean? There's little things you don't need to be. You know the players you're coming up against.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Big thing. And that's why when you've got a player that's Premier League ready, or
it's the comfort as well, because there's enough to deal with playing for big clubs, the pressure of trying to win, the pressure of challenging and all of that. Now the pressure of coming into a new country in a new league, that's eliminated with a Basuma or a Ruben Neves, who people are asking about. And I get that, but at the same time, it's not our job to do the scouting for Arsenal. It's their job to get it right. They haven't got it right for nearly 10 years now, hence why we haven't made a profit.
And the other thing I was going to say, Turkish, right? Whatever happened to just keeping it simple when it comes to transfers?
Yeah.
Get what you need. Look at Liverpool when they won the league. They needed a centre half. Yeah. They went and got Van Dijk. Like, we need a centre half, man. We keep messing up in that position. We've been looking good going forward. We keep getting done. Let's go and get the best one out there. So we've got him.
And not only
what the other thing is?
They failed in the summer and waited till January.
Yeah.
We would fail and go for plan B, C and D.
Yeah, and the other thing they did? They're like, goalkeeper, man. Look, we lost the Champions League final. Goalkeeper.
Remember that.
Our goalkeepers keep... Let's go and get a quality keeper. They didn't mess around. They just went and got what they needed. That's what we need to do. We do this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that, but this and but that and but. Go, we've needed a defensive midfielder for how many years? Since Kante was available, we went and got Xhaka.
Yeah.
Oh, because what we understand, he does a bit more of this.
He can pass it long.
He's passing. We needed a holding midfielder to hold that midfielder, get in front of the defenders, protect the back four. Kante was available.
Not a bit of that, but he can also do this. We needed
just
that.
Just keep it simple. Kante was available, get him, but no. It's even like that at the moment. I just look on it with this Ben White thing. I'm like, good player, and that's not what we need right now.
It's madness to me.
We need Ben White.
50 million as well.
Saliba, you got... All right, we know Holding's not the greatest, but he's still a very experienced Premier League player. That'll do us.
Yeah.
Saliba and Holding. You got Mafropanos who can come back.
Especially if you're tight with the money.
You got Gabriel. You got Murray. Now we're looking at Ben White. When Basuma at the same club is Basuma, which is exactly what we need. I don't understand it.
And we got Rekik, the Tunisian centre back.
Yes, who I've heard very good reports on.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mavropanos had a good year.
Yeah.
Saliba had a good 6 months. So what's going on?
Get a defensive midfielder. Start from the base first.
Rob. We can go on all day, man. And listen, it's 7:30, Rob. I know obviously you've got the Euros to get to and whatnot. I think we've covered everything. Actually,
brilliant.
A final bit of news. Thomas Partey, he set up a foundation in Ghana for youths to help, young ones come show off their talent and hopefully, make it to the big stage. I'm all for that. Players using their own platforms to help push and help bring up people from all walks of life, own backgrounds, own countries, own continents. I'm all for that. So big up Thomas Partey for that. Go and search that on Twitter and Google. You'll find out a lot more information on that. Big up Thomas Partey on that one. Yeah.
Big up you.
Come on.
And keep it locked in. I'll be back in the morning with Transfer Daily. No doubt we're going to be talking James Maddison. So make sure you check us out in the morning.
Come on, people. Love.